Let's give them a round of applause. Let's talk this up for a second.
Absolutely.
You got customers and you got contributors.
Come on.
The customers benefit off of the work that the contributors do. But if the contributors stop working, then the customers no longer have any benefits and there's no growth. In this game of hip-hop, and we often say this, Heather, we got customers and we got contributors. There are people who came into these conversations through other ways, through other means, not even through necessarily a hip-hop mean,
right?
But that impacts and that can benefit hip-hop as a culture. These young men who are here with us today have created an extremely powerful platform. I want to give them a round of applause for that. Earn your leisure.
That's what's
Earn
up.
your leisure.
That's what's
EYL University. Give that a round of applause as well. Invest Fest. Give that a round of applause as well. Part of why this culture was created is because disenfranchised people needed a voice. And they were being blocked away from resources. They were being blocked away from opportunities. They weren't being considered for any of these things. When I say they, I talk about we and our people and our descendants.
100%.
And this is why the culture of hip-hop was born. It was out of necessity, right? And then as the culture became monetized and other people came into power and
started raping
and pillaging the culture, we got lost in that, and one of the biggest tragedies, I think, when it comes to hip hop that we are reversing now is the fact that we don't have proprietorship of our own culture. We weren't there in the beginning. And a lot of the reasons why is we didn't have the tools. This what makes EYL so important.
Absolutely.
Even beyond the culture, who we are as a community, who we are as a nation. This information that these brothers have been supplying can help ensure or better our possibilities, our potential in terms of financial stability, mentioning financial legacy, all of these different things that I think are qualities that are necessary for us to build a nation. EYL is supplying, they're contributing this information that's helping us as a people. So I want to welcome these young men to the show. Give them a big round of applause. My man Rashad is here. We got Troy here. Earn Your Leisure is here. They are here. Earn Your Leisure are here. Applaud. Stand up. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for your service to the community. Man, give it up for Earn Your Leisure.
Appreciate that.
Fucking Earn Your Leisure up in here, man.
This needs to be the new standard when we come to it.
Oh, man.
I love this.
You got to be acknowledged, man.
I appreciate that, man.
I've been watching. Ty, Ty, how long you been working with me? 7, 8 years. Always speaks highly. I think I missed y'all a few times. Y'all was recording at Ty's studio.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I want to commend you for what you're doing. I know a little bit about the story, how Earn Your Leisure started from teaching middle school kids about financial information, right? And then realized that education that was doing a disservice to our people, and that also adults need to learn this information as well, right? Congratulations, man. Thank
you.
Yeah. Was that and so I'm curious to now, how many, that was in 2019? When did it start?
Yeah, 2019 when we first started.
Rashad, what do you consider when you think about the work that you guys have put in and you see how it impacts, because you're not doing this for yourself, you're doing this to impact other people and better their lives. Can you tell me, what do you consider one of your most successful stories from people who've been impacted by EYL?
Yeah, so many. One in particular, we was in LA. This was like probably 2020. It was early in our journey, and we had rented a Airbnb in LA, right off of Melrose. So, LA is a little tricky. So we outside just talking on the lawn, and a car had rolled up and slowed down. So we oh man,
did you have this red T-shirt on to that day?
So they hopped out. Then they hopped out the car. So I'm like, oh man, what's going on? And they was yo, and he's like, Earn Your Leisure. So then I'm like, all right. So then, long story short, it was some guys from Chicago, and they was telling us how they was able to quit their job and they started an Airbnb business and started investing in stocks, and it was. you wouldn't expect this type of conversation to happen.
Yeah.
But it was just really dope because they was just so like encouraged, and he was like saying like, yo, you changed my life. I would have never thought that I could ever do anything except for just work a job. Like that's how he was taught. Like, just grow up and work a job and that's it. And he was like, I never even thought about being an entrepreneur. I watched your episode about Airbnbs, and I just, I started going down a rabbit hole. And I was able to get Airbnbs, and then I put my friends on. Now we manage Airbnbs, and we don't work anymore. Like, this is what we do full time. So there's so many stories like that. But
how does that make you feel, though?
Nah, it's dope. It's dope because it's like you never really expect. You never really know what the impact is going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You just put music out there. Like if you're a musician, you just put music out there. I told Nas when I met Nas, my son's name is Nasir. Like he's a very big, influential person in my life. I'm sure he would have never thought when he first recorded his first song. He 30 years later, he gonna be impacting people and inspiring people like us. And it's the same thing for us. Like when we first started doing it, we didn't really know that we would be able to, go to London and Toronto and Africa and reach different people and people incarcerated listening to us. Like you never really know how far your reach is going to go and how many people is going to be impacted by it. So it's extremely humbling whenever that happens. But to see it actually happen in real life and people actually tell you the story in real life, it kind of like really cements it.
Yeah, we had a crazy New York story. We were giving out turkeys for Thanksgiving, and so we handed them out. And this gentleman walks up, and this is how much the trajectory of like the conversations have changed. He walks up to me, shows me his brokerage account. He was like, "Look, bro, he has six figures in it."
Woo!
I'm like, "Damn, bro." He was like,
dope.
"I'm like, yo, just imagine like at a time and a place in New York City where somebody's gonna show you that they had 6 figures and it was all good." And he was like, "Yo, the information that y'all gave, man, I just executed on it." I was like, "That's powerful, man." And he looked at me, he was like, "Can I still get this free turkey though?"
The 6 figure.
I said, "Yo, of course, man. It's all love." But you never, like every day that happens. I've had a gentleman walk up to me and said, "Look, I've made 7 figures off the information." We were at Essence Fest this July. This woman was like, "Look, I made 7 figures." Imagine that. Like 4 years ago, you didn't have any information. 4 years later, you've had probably the most money you've ever had in your life just on listening to information and actually executing on it. So the impact is it's crazy, man.
And the important part, which is why I said what I said when Sway gave y'all your intro, now you know what to do with it. That's the thing. Many people have money, but you don't know what to do with it. And then little by little, it just starts to trickle away, and you realize, what do I have? You're looking in your money's in your closet, under your bed, or in somebody else's dream and story because you done loan this person money and that person money. So I love what you guys are doing because it's the guidance. It's not just getting the money. Now, what do I do with it?
And I think what's additionally powerful is this isn't just aspirational content.
Yeah.
Like it's applicable. And it shows like how excellent you guys are at communicating and taking things that were purposely designed to be very complex, both in like language and just as a system.
Yeah.
And breaking them down in a way where an average person on 2 different coasts can both, take it and make it into something that works for their lives.
Yeah, it's a story that's rooted in hip hop. I know, like it doesn't, like people forget that part of it. But like the first lesson I ever wrote on financial literacy was about Jay-Z. Yeah, when he said that all blacks got is sports and entertainment, I was like, damn,
what does that mean?
When I like, where's he going with that? Right, like this is 1996, but I wrote that in like 2009, and I'm thinking to myself, he's right. Yeah. Like when we think about success in our community, those are the 2 places that we look. Everybody either comes from those 2 fields. And so it was like, we have an opportunity now to show people success from all different fields, right? So it's more aspirational when it's like, wait, there's
and
value
that's true
in being
abundance. Like sports and entertainment is actually a form of scarcity if you're only looking at 2 avenues to create wealth.
Right, and everybody's not going to make it in that.
Facts.
But there's a guarantee. Like if you invest, you can make success. If you become an entrepreneur, different type of businesses. And when we started highlighting people and showing them, like, wait, you could be a logistics entrepreneur, like you can be in the stock market, like you can create vending machines and all these real estate and all these other things. It was like, this is aspirational. Now success looks different. Now it looks like I can obtain it in so many different ways, whereas when we grew up, those were the images that were being put in front of us. Like it was like, all right, well, if we don't do that, do we have value?
Right.
So like now the teacher, the financial advisor are the people that's like, all right, I could be him.
Y'all grew up together, right?
Absolutely.
Did Rashad change when he started getting famous? Did you notice any difference? Nah, serious, Troy. Like, come on. Did you notice any difference in him as y'all celebrity grew?
the funniest thing is that, my brother, I have an older brother who used to hang out with us all the time. He was like, what's great about y'all? Y'all really haven't changed.
Okay.
Y'all really haven't changed. Y'all are the same people that, we grew up knowing. Like, the people that knew us, like, people like, Rashad doesn't even talk. Like he was he was quiet, but like when he was around us, it was like he was the one that always talked. He wouldn't stop talking. And I'm like, he just got to get comfortable with y'all. And so like now when they see him on the show, it's like he talks all the time. And then when they see him in person, it's like he's real reserved.
So who initiated the conversations about finances between y'all at an early age?
For us? Well, he comes from Alabama.
Yeah, I was a financial advisor, so I mean, we always was interested in stuff like that. But as far as like, I guess when we got serious as adults, that's what I was doing for a living. So I was like deeply entrenched in that world as far as learning about investments and life insurance and IRAs, and I was talking about that every single day with my clients and going to different organizations, speaking at churches, speaking in front of sororities, fraternities, anybody. So that's actually what I was doing for a living. So I was passionate about that, and he was my first client actually, and all of my friends became clients of mine. So I got an opportunity to sit down with them and talk with them and show them about life insurance and why they should get it and what's going to happen 20 years down the line if you put enough money in, and do projections and stuff like that. So that was definitely something that I was doing full time every day. I'm still licensed, but I don't do that full time anymore.
Right.
But I did it for 12 years before we started this.
All right. Earn Your Leisure is here. You got a lot of people on the phone lines. I just want to talk a little more. Anybody married in there?
I am.
Yeah, how long you been married, man?
11 years.
That's dope.
Congratulations, kids.
Love.
Got kids?
I got 2 kids, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So, Rashad, so you're not married.
There it goes.
Sway, I feel like you trying to divide and conquer around here. I mean,
let's get that out the way.
He's doing a process of elimination.
Yeah, bro, you trying to get a spot on Earn Your Leisure?
I'm a part of the family, brother. They know it or not. I'm a part of the Earn Your Leisure family.
Definitely.
Come on, I promote these dudes. They don't even know,
that.
man. You in my conversation.
Thank you.
So when you sit down at some point, if that's what you decide to do, because Heather said marriage ain't about love. It ain't just about love.
Business contract.
My word is it's a partnership.
Yeah,
it is a partnership, and because some days, because it's an everyday partnership, some days you ain't in love. Like you just not. It's a natural feeling. You love the person, but all those butterflies and everything, real life had already set in. And so you got to stick to the partnership.
So are there things that in regards
the married
to
guy's laughing because he know.
No, I you know what? It's a part of it. I think partnership is key. Love is a factor as well. I haven't experienced that. Like I really am married to like my best friend, and so like we've known each other more than the years we've been married. So every day is pretty cool because it's like, she's inside the business. She works with us. But yeah, I haven't had that like, damn, I got to go home. I'm more like.
See, I'm not that. Yeah. I'm not damn, I got to go home. And I talk about that a lot. We 22 years in.
Congrats.
And thank you. But it's other factors that come in that have nothing to do with you and your partner that can affect your partnership. And then you realize, it ain't even my family. It's his family. It ain't even his family. It's my family. Folks got to come live with you, stay with you. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Rashad ain't never going to get married.
No, but it's beautiful because you have a strong partnership that doesn't divide.
Would you, and this is more general, but how would you approach a relationship, Rashad, when it comes to a woman and where she is financially, or at least what her goals are? You got to factor that in, being who you are, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really tripping off of that too much, honestly. Like,
so she could be broke.
No.
Or financially illiterate? Can she be like a freshman when it comes to financial knowledge? Or does she have to be a senior?
No, I feel like at the end of the day, if it's a relationship, then part of the relationship is the education process. So, she can educate me on things that I don't know, and I can educate her on things that she might not know. So I'm not looking at somebody that is like a financial genius, or has to have like an 850 credit score. Like, of course, it's not attractive for you just to have nothing going on at all and no ambition at all. But it's not.
Wow, Sway.
I feel like that's actually a common misconception. People think like, you're a finance guy, so in order to be with somebody, they got to be like on your level, or they got to be day trading stocks. Like I'm not really interested in that in a relationship. Like if that is natural, then it's natural, but it's not a top priority.
Okay, I like that. You mentioned life insurance in your answer, right? And I've been involved in working with my grandmother passed recently.
Oh,
right?
sorry to hear that. Condolences.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Right, but one of the things she did that was dope as fuck is she had a trust, and the way she handled her business in that trust and how she appointed different things, I won't get into too much detail. It's personal. I thought was really interesting, right? And it made me think of how a trust can work with people in the music business, especially artists, right? And so I'm curious, do you believe artists with their intellectual property can put it in a trust? Is that possible? And what would be the benefit, or would you advise that?
I mean, yeah, you could put anything in a trust really.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can, to answer your question. Why people put things in a trust for a few different reasons. They want to shelter it from taxes.
Okay.
So it's not taxed. Like when you pass away, then you might have a state tax issue if you have a certain amount of money. Especially artists, you see that a lot. Like you'll see an artist pass away, and then you see like, why is Elvis Presley selling his guitar? Or why is Prince like doing like, you know what I mean? Because they have to pay estate taxes within like 6 months of them passing away. So you might be worth $50 million, but you might not have any money liquid. Like you might have a couple of mansions that's worth $50 million. So technically your net worth is $50 million. So you might get taxed, $5 million. They might have a $5 million estate tax that you have to pay. But now your estate doesn't have money to actually pay that. So now they got to start doing sales and different things of nature, selling property, different things of nature. So that happens a lot. Like I said, especially with musicians, you see that happening a lot where they sell different valuables and different things of that nature to have enough money to pay the IRS. But if you have like a life insurance policy set up inside of a trust, then the life insurance policy can be used to actually pay estate taxes. So that's one thing is from a tax standpoint. Another thing is from just a legal standpoint of directing things to go where you want them to go. So it's like to say, okay, I want a will is kind of like a more broad range where it's like, okay, I have $100,000 and I want this to go to my son when I pass away. I put that in my will. It's kind of like cut and dry. But if I want to give instructions where it's like, okay, I have $100,000, but I want to give $25,000
this person
when he graduates high school, and then if he graduates college, he gets another $25,000. Then if he gets married, like it's a lot more detailed that you can go into it with the trust. So that's another reason why people get a trust as well, and then also to take it outside of your name from a legal standpoint. Yeah. So, a trust is like an actual entity within itself. It's like an actual person. So if somebody's suing you or, for legal purposes, you don't want assets to be in your name, then you take it out of your name and then you put it in a trust. So those are a few reasons why people
you guys have trust?
Working on it right now. Trust up right now.
Yeah. Working on it right now?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, especially like in our community, like you said, we don't know. And so when somebody passes, it's like, oh, we're gonna have a family meeting and try to figure it out then. But by that time, it's too late. Yep. So, like, that was one of those things at 25 years old, he's telling me about life. Like, I'm like, all right, I didn't even know about it. But I'm like, I'm going to get it just because he's telling me about it. I want to support his business. And then I try to tell other people, and they're like, I'm not thinking about dying. But that's most people. They're not thinking about dying, right? Because they're thinking about themselves. My thing was like, if I got kids, especially if I didn't even have kids at the time, but I was thinking to myself, I'm going to have them. So I want to have something that gets passed down to them, passed down to my wife. I wasn't married at the time, but I'm thinking about future. Most times we think about ourselves and we think about right now.
Very true.
And if anything happens that's tragic, we're not prepared. And so having the information is super
key.
important.
Yeah.
I
love this, man. Tracy, you wanted to ask something real quick?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you guys know that we are in the midst of hip-hop's 50th anniversary, and there's been so many major accomplishments within hip-hop, specifically around finances, thinking about the billionaires that have been born, Hove, Kanye, Rihanna, and that deserves a big round of applause because who would have thought hip-hop would make it this far? I also, though, think about Bernie Sanders and AOC, who have been very loud against billionaires and feel like billionaires should not exist, and that the existence of a billionaire means that someone is benefiting off of unjust economic system that we live in.
H. Billy.
Right? I'm like,
Listen, but a lot of people feel like the presence of billionaires is proof of an immoral system that we live in, right? And that billionaires don't make money, they take money. And that it happens from exploitive labor practices, from tax breaks, loopholes that are beyond the reach of the ordinary person. So for y'all, what is your take on billionaires? Do we need them or do we not?
I feel like, everybody has the God-given right to reach the highest level of success that they can possibly can. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks about Mansa Musa all the time like he's the richest person in history when you equivalent his wealth to what it would be today. He probably would be a trillionaire, right? So I'm never one to say put a cap on what somebody can earn or what somebody can do. Like now, there is what you brought some valid points to say, okay, some things aren't fair in a system. Mm-hmm. Life isn't fair, unfortunately. But yeah, I think that you do have to take into consideration that the average person is struggling, right? So when you have people that's, trillionaires or almost trillionaires and billionaires and different things of that nature, like it's a very wide wealth gap and it's getting even wider. So how do we make sure that the people at the bottom aren't just sinking into abyss while a select few people at the top are controlling 90% of the wealth in the world? Mm-hmm. That's a critical issue that has to be talked about. But I don't think a solution to that is just taking people's wealths and just taxing them and just taking their money away from them, because
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the government is any more equipped to handle the problems than a billionaire would be. So I'm not a person that is just very, has a lot of faith in government and thinks that government should just answer, all world's problems, because we see whenever that happens, they always mess it up anyway. And they can't agree on anything anyway. So
Yeah.
I think that we live in a society where, there are opportunities for people to rise to the top. Now, if you're black, it's going to be less opportunities, but you still have opportunity. Mm-hmm. So instead of looking at things from a critical standpoint, I like to look at things from a more how can we get involved standpoint, right? Like, I don't want to just knock somebody because they're rich. I want to learn from them and figure out how they were actually able to do it and see if we can actually formulate that blueprint, what we can learn from it, how we can adapt it for us. So I personally feel that, a person with money is not a bad person. It's what you do with it, right? But that's anything. You can be broke and be the worst person in the world. Yeah. So I don't really agree with that total, anti-billionaire standpoint, although I do see some points that actually do make sense in that conversation. But I think you have to be balanced. I'm not a person that's just like for just, give the rich whatever they want, but I'm also not a person for just taxing them for no reason and then just penalizing people for no reason just because they were actually able to make money. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, can I roll off of what Tracy was saying? Because hip hop, if you look at it in the past, like
that's DB, by the way.
Where did that voice come from?
Hello, gentlemen. No, if you look at hip hop, I think you can say that it is a spend first and show what I have, as opposed to save, invest. You know what I mean? Jewelry, cars, and everything like that. Very braggadocious spending behavior. How do you combat that and get people to start looking at, like, let's invest because it creates wealth, more wealth than we would have if we're showing it on our neck or what we're driving?
I think it's changing. I think the conversation is changing. Even if you listen to some of the lyrics of the younger artists, you can hear there's a sense of entrepreneurship inside of them and investing in other things outside of the music. But I said this before. We got to have grace for our elite, right? Because they're first generation.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's the first time we're here.
Right. This is the first time we got here. From Robert Smith to Puff to Jay to Rihanna to Beyonce at some point. This is the first time we've been here. Oprah, same thing. It's his first generation. So when we talk about wealth and we talk about generational and legacy, we don't know what this is going to look like in 10, 15, 20 years because they're still here.
Yeah.
And so there are going to be mistakes that they're going to make. When we don't know what to do with money, the obviously thing we do is spend it. But if we start looking at what Jay's built with Rock Nation and the investments he's made and partnering with LVMH and selling off brands, like there's lessons inside that. What Puff is doing, what he did with DeLeon and what he's done with Revolt. we got to look inside that and learn from that. What Robert Smith is doing inside of private equity. We're looking
Tyler
at
Perry.
What Tyler Perry's doing, right? Another one, first generation.
Yeah.
What he's doing inside of media.
Yeah.
These are things that the next generation can watch and say, all right, well, you know what? He just built a studio that's the size of the 4 big major ones in LA.
Yeah, Tyler Perry. Yeah.
As far as land.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're seeing this happening in real time. And so the conversations are changing. How we're moving our money around is changing. But what's most important is that there's actual resources now, right? So we can provide information, but you're actually seeing these things happen in real time. Whereas before, when it was like people were making money, it was like, all right, this is great. Like I remember watching these guys in the 90s. I'm like, how did they get that?
Right.
We just saw the
For
cars, and we
real.
saw the jewelry, but now we're actually getting the information on how we're doing it. And I think we're playing a part in that as well, is deciphering the information, looking at what they're doing and explain it to a population to say, all right, well, these are some of the steps. Like you may not be able to do all these steps, but you can take some of these key components and add it to what you're doing, and hopefully you'll start to see more people, more millionaires coming, more billionaires, because more is better, right? If we want to invoke change, capital is going to be part of that.
And there's more consciousness now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People are understanding money a little bit more.
I love this. Earn Your Leisure is here. Troy and Rashad. These guys are great. Invest Fest. If you're listening to them talk now on the radio, listen to them talk in person. Invest Fest this month, happening August 25th through the 27th in Atlanta, Georgia. They're going to have some heavyweights in the building. They're going to have Diddy's going to be there, right?
Yes.
Jeezy is going to be there. We just had a conversation with Jeezy, and we was talking about properties, and he just bought a new building with 20 units in it.
Shout out to Jeezy.
As a gift to himself.
Get a new book.
Jeez, got the new book too, Adversity for Sale. All right,
Shout out to Jeezy.
Terrence J, who's been a quiet beast behind the scenes. I know for a fact. I remember when he first signed over to BET. The first conversation we had was on a bus. We were at a charity golf game in Arizona. I just met him. He said, "Can I talk to you?" We sat and talked. He said, I just signed a deal that week. What do you, and I said, "Did you get the money you wanted?" He said, "Yeah, what do you think I should do?" I told him, "Make sure you buy some land before it's all over so you have somewhere you can live." Terrence J is going to be there. John Sally, incredible business person.
our guy.
Ari Fletcher is going to be there as well. Steve Stout is going to be there. And Robert F. Smith. Y'all have a personal relationship with him?
Yeah.
They were pretty cool.
So I got.
Fuck Rashad. Come on, man. You ain't never DM me to come hang out with you,
I thought
Mr. Smith.
I thought you was in it. You just said earlier.
That's what I'm like. You never DM me. I'm just saying. I thought we was
in it.
good.
We got to add your name to the list of people who's going to be there.
Okay, I know it's a big list. I'm joking. Do y'all have regular conversation, or is it always about building?
No, we don't have regular conversation, but we do run into him. Like we interviewed him. So the first time we met him was he did an event in Harlem with Steve Harvey to raise awareness for cancer.
Yeah.
Prostate.
So we met him there, and that was the first time actually meeting him. Then we interviewed him a few weeks later. So then that was dope to kind of build a relationship from there, establishment. And then,
real quick, but the craziest thing when the first time we met him, when we walked over and Steve Harvey was trying to introduce us, the first thing he said to us was like, "I know these guys. They're changing the world."
Oh, that's beautiful.
Wow.
That's what it is. You're changing the world.
Wow.
So then we meet him again in Davos. You know about Davos?
No, where's it? In Africa?
That's in Switzerland.
Close.
Sway don't. Yo.
Talking about
I can see how you can confuse it.
Right? Close enough. Don't asking me these questions, Rashad.
But they got this thing in Davos called the World Economic Forum, and that's where like all of the billionaires come and all that. Yeah, so that's like the most elite place in the world to go to. So we went there and we met him, and we run into him almost every day out there. And then we interviewed him in Carnegie Hall, and now he's gonna be at Invest Fest. Yeah. So we've got a great relationship. But the thing with these type of guys that he's worth like $6 billion is
$9 billion. We keep cutting them short.
So you gotta. This is some advice for anybody that's looking to kind of build a relationship. And it's the same thing with Steve Harvey, Diddy, all of these people. We know these people personally. We have their cell phones personally.
Okay.
But we don't communicate with them personally. We communicate with their right hand.
Yeah.
Personally, like Diddy, like me and his guy, Dion, shout out to him. We talk all the time. Like, like Robert Smith's guy, his name is Omni, good dude. We talk to him if we need to talk to him. So that's extremely important. It's not so much that they don't want to communicate with you, but obviously you got so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people don't really fully understand how to go about communicating properly. Like, you got to know the right channels to go through, and you got to make sure that you treat those people the same way you would treat the billionaire, because ultimately they're just as important, because they're the one that's going to be telling them, like, yo, this, you got to do this. This is why you got to do it. And if they're that close to that person, they're there for a reason. They trust them. So that's something that we learned as far as like dealing with these billionaires, is that the person right next to, like a chief of staff. Like, you got to make sure that you build a strong relationship with them, because they're going to be the most important person in the equation. Earn Your Leisure is here, man. I got to get a few phone calls real quick, because people have been waiting for a good hour. But I really want to encourage you to go to InvestFest. Last year they had 14,000. When they first started, it was a couple of thousand, and it's continued to grow. It's going to be about 25,000 this year.
Nice.
25 to 30, somewhere probably closer to 30. 30,000, okay. 888-742-3345. Mike is in Cali. Mike, you got a question real quick. Go.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's up, morning family? I just want to say thank you to Earn Your Leisure. You know, back in 2019, I found them top of 2020. I was looking for somewhat of a mentor. You know, I'm like, man, I need a mentor. I need to find out how, you know, properly get money, how to invest my money, how to learn stock. And I came across Earn Your Leisure, which, you know, they had tons of videos on how to trade and all that type of stuff, and essentially became my mentor for, you know, 2020 was getting an influx of money, so I was able to invest my money and get up and all that type of stuff. So my question is, for, you know, everyone's talking about this year there may be a recession, or next year. If there is, what do you think it will affect? Like in 08, you know, 07, it was the housing crisis and all that type of stuff, and a lot of people benefited from that. What do you think it would be for this run if there is a recession?
I think, well, yeah, they said that it was going to be a recession this year. Then they said it was a recession. Then they said it wasn't a recession. Now they're saying that it's not going to be a recession. And most analysts are saying that they don't even expect a recession for next year. But a recession will come at some point. That's just how these economic cycles work, right? So whenever there's an economic downturn, usually the stock market definitely will be affected. So you'll see a drop in stock prices.
I can't wait.
Exactly.
That's
not clean. We did good during the pandemic, bro.
For sure.
Good or great? Sure.
Excellent.
There we go. That's more like it. Yeah. Language is important.
Yes,
but it's true. A conundrum, because, you know, a lot of times these impact people negatively, but then there's like an upside to it. So it's always like strange.
Yeah, there's opportunities in every crisis, unfortunately. And I feel like, you know, that's something that even if you study history, if you study nature, you can learn a lot. Like, you know, when you look at things like hurricanes and wildfires, it's actually a form of purification. It's necessary for the earth to regrow itself. Unfortunately, people just live in these areas, so now they're affected by it, but that's actually nature's way of actually purifying itself. So devastation is actually needed for progress to happen.
Right.
So it's the same thing with the economic, you know, everything just can't keep going up, keep going up. If housing prices never came down, then the average house would be $10 million. Right? You know what I mean? So it's like, it got to come down. It got to reset itself. This has to happen. Unfortunately, it's just like the hurricane thing, right? Unfortunately, if you live in the way of a hurricane, then it's not a blessing for you. But if you have enough wisdom to understand that, okay, this is not a good place to actually live in, then you can actually be beneficial for you. So it's the same thing with, you know, in the economy. I feel like, to answer his question, stock prices go down during recession. Unfortunately, people will get laid off, especially when you're talking about AI. That's going to lay off even more people, because jobs will be lost because of artificial intelligence. So being that jobs will be lost, then now that puts a pinch on housing, which is in some way beneficial for landlords, because less people are buying homes, but they still need places to live. But it can also cause short-term drops in different real estate markets. So that's something to be aware of as well. So there's a variety of different, you know, domino effects that take place during a recession. But the best way to prepare for a recession is, just be educated. Especially, like I said, when you talk about artificial intelligence, this is something that is not going anywhere. So regardless how you feel about it, you should be educated on it, because it's better to use it for your advantage as opposed to having it replace you. And then also, you know, it's always good to save money. Like, you know, get in the habit of saving money, because when it happens, now you're in a position to, like you said, put money into the market or buy a home and different things like that. You never want to buy high. You always want to buy low. But you can't buy low if you're not in a position to actually do that.
It's the inverse too, right? So when you talked about jobs being lost, like that's part of it. Unemployment rates are going to go up. But when we watch unemployment rates go up, the Federal Reserve will look at it and say, all right, well, we need to bring interest rates down, right? And so like when we're looking now, it's like, wait, they keep looking at unemployment rates and they're like, well, there's still too many people working. There's too much money in the economy, so we got to keep raising them. So you see like every 3 months they're waiting to see like, are they going to raise it a quarter? It kind of works inversely. But back to what his question specifically is why we tell people to invest. Like there's trading and there's investing, right? So like if you invested in 2020, yeah, you were up, right? Yeah. Because the stock market pulled back so far that you could invest in anything. And 6 months later, you probably saw appreciation. What happened in 2022? A lot different, right? We saw the NASDAQ, which is a lot of the technology companies, drop 30%. We saw the Dow Jones drop. We saw the S&P drop. But 2023, here we are, back up 20%. And so there's ebbs and flows in it. But if you're in it, then you're going to receive the rewards of it. If you're on the sideline waiting and say, all right, well, I'm going to invest in it when it's at its peak, then there's going to be some downfall, right? But if you're in it long term, we know over the history of the stock market, 79% of the time it's going to increase. Yeah. 79%. I like those percentages. Yeah. I'll take that. So if I put my money into something, 80%, nearly 80% of the time, I'm gonna have interest. I'm gonna have appreciation. I'll take those odds. Right? I got to keep it in there 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Make sure that I pass it down. Have a custodial account for my kids. Have these things in place because it's gonna rise at some point.
Custodial account for your kid. Y'all got to come back. Y'all gonna come back on the show, man?
Easy.
Would y'all do that?
Too easy.
You just committed live on there. You can't go back on your word.
Call his man though. Find out who his man is.
Ty. I just said Ty. I already know. I know how to get to the billionaire.
It's the quiet one in the corner.
Yo, you been real quiet too, dog.
Don't do that. Shout out that.
Say your name.
I peep game early in the lobby. Come to the mic.
Get on the mic, man.
Come to the mic. Because I peeped his game.
Let's get him his debut.
They were sitting and chilling.
Yeah.
He was over by the computer.
Say your name, man.
I didn't even see him.
Full name Abdullah. Everybody calls me Ab. AB.
Ab. Hey, Ab. What up, man? What's your role with Earn Your Leisure?
I'm the Chief Operating Officer.
Beautiful.
Chief, are you the CFO?
COO.
COO, my bad.
Sway went to public school.
It's okay.
I went to Oakland. I still got that Manzanita elementary education going. How did you meet them?
So Troy was my 3rd grade after school teacher.
Oh
damn!
So he watched me grow up my whole life.
Get him on camera, Ty.
Get over here. Come over here. Come
on, camera. Get him on. Ty, don't be doing that. This is your 3rd grade teacher?
My 3rd grade after school teacher. Known me my whole life. We worked together for about 5 years prior to Earn Your Leisure. And he brought me on board when we started.
Damn.
You really about to pushing it forward. I love that, man.
That's generational wealth as well.
And these are the stories. These are the stories that people need to hear and see and appreciate so much because that's what ultimately it's about. Because you're not just doing this. There has to be passion and purpose behind it. That's just so dope.
Yeah, wow.
That's dope.
He left out the part when I tried to hire him. He told me he wasn't going to work for me.
Why not?
Tell him why you ain't want to work for me.
I was like 17. I liked my other job a little better.
What were you working at Burger King? What the hell?
I was a camp counselor, but I was like, it was fun. I was lit. So
yeah.
I stayed over there.
Yeah. So then the next year, like there was a tragedy in his family, and then I was like, this could go either way with him. Like, and he's such a good kid that I didn't want to have him get lost. So I'm like, look, from now on, you're gonna stay with me. I'm gonna hire you. I'm gonna make sure you make more money. I'm gonna make sure you have the best time of your life. And from that day, he has not left my side. So
wow.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And he get to wear shorts to work? Damn, man. That's pretty dope.
I learned this from them.
Oh, okay.
This is the new look of the exec.
Look of the exec.
Sway.
Hey, man, listen.
Yep.
You ain't got to wear them suits no more.
Hey, Sway, real quick.
Yeah.
Because Ty, so he said that I had to tell Heather this. Like, I was born in the Bronx, Colgate Ave. Okay. So my first introduction to hip hop was BDP. So,
oh wow!
So here's the story though. Here's the crazy. I haven't met him yet, but I have to meet KRS-One. So I'm hoping that maybe we can make something happen.
Can you hook him up
tomorrow? And he's gonna be in the Bronx.
I know. The first time I ever got introduced to hip hop, he was giving out a vinyl in the lobby, and it was the South Bronx and it was the Bridge Is Over. And so that's the first time I ever like got to hear rap, like, and then watching like obviously Video Music Box, and then later, you know, Yo MTV Raps and MTV. But I was like, yo, one day I'm gonna meet KRS and I'm gonna tell him this. So I told Ty the story. He's like, you gotta tell Heather. You gotta tell Heather.
Oh my god.
So like BDP is like close to the heart. Like him, I'm gonna tell D Nice the story when I see him too. But all that, rest in peace to Miss Melody, all that.
Yes.
So yeah, I had to tell you that too.
Wow,
Shout
that
out,
is
man.
so amazing and beautiful. Wow, you never know with people.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
like we know each other through this platform, social media, and the computers and the internet. But to know like these beautiful stories behind the scenes with you guys is so amazing. And I think this platform, and I'm not saying this because I'm here. We talk about it all the time. We're so glad people can come up here and be comfortable and feel like you're in the living room and feel, get your flowers at the same time and feel comfortable enough to open up and share stories like this. We love it. Thank y'all. For real.
We about to wrap it up too in a second because I know Heather got to go to Urban View.
I got to go to Urban View. It's Soul Food Thursday, so I got recipes and tips for your bar, your table, and of course for your soul. We cooking today.
Okay, cool. You guys are hip hop heads. I know it. I've seen your conversations. I was very impressed. I might add too. From a business lens, if you had to choose a route, right, and you had to pick somebody, a hip hop mogul who's done it great, whether if it's Baby from Cash Money or Master P or Eazy-E or Diddy or Jay-Z or even Suge Knight with Death Row. Or Nas, what we see him doing right now. Mm-hmm. Give me your top 5.
Well, it's crazy you say this. Hold on. Let me get my phone out.
Okay.
Who did it financially right?
Yeah, the business-wise.
Right.
Like, who did it business? I don't care who makes the most.
We just had this conversation.
So we had this conversation with Yo Gotti. So yeah.
Okay.
We just had this conversation.
He had some kind words for where he thinks he belongs.
So okay. All right. Okay.
We did a list. I don't know if you saw it, but we did this list, right? And
see.
it kind of went viral.
Oh, I didn't see
on
this list.
social media, and Birdman reposted it, and he had some thoughts about it.
Okay, so your list is at number 10.
The hottest MCs of finance.
Finance. Okay, at number 10 is Suge Knight. Number 9 is Jermaine Dupri. Number 8 is Dame Dash. 7, L.A. Reid. 6, Master P. 5, Russell Simmons. 4, Dr. Dre. 3, Jay-Z. 2, Diddy. And number 1 is Baby.
Yeah. So that was the top 10 hip hop CEOs because everybody was doing their top 50 list, their top 10 rapper list. So we wanted to do it. We did this top.
When did this come out?
It came out like a couple months ago. So Baby reposted it on his page, and he was like,
put some respect.
He was like, he thought that QC should be number 2.
Quality Control.
Yeah.
Of all time.
Of all time.
Ever.
Yeah. And he said CMG belonged in there.
He said CMG belonged in there.
Gotti said that?
Baby said that.
Baby said that. Okay.
So,
but we did. So the other part is it was 10. We originally had 15 because I'm like, there's so many people. I know people are gonna feel left out. So we did have honorable mentions.
Irv Gotti was honorable
there.
mention.
Jay Prince was there. QC was in there.
Did y'all
CMG
mention
was in
Queen
there.
Latifah?
We did not mention the Flavor Unit, but they should be.
Queen Latifah should be.
We had Sylvia Rohn in there as well.
Okay.
Queen Latifah as a CEO?
Yeah. Flavor Unit. She was the first. Think about that. Queen Latifah was a woman in hip hop who had her own label and entertainment company, and she didn't just do rap. And then she put out all those different artists. Her and Shakim.
They had.
I know they go crazy with the movies,
Naughty by
film
Nature.
and all that.
Yeah.
Who's our Naughty by Nature? Was Apache on there?
Apache was on there. They had a slew of artists. I can't name them. I wish Heather was.
How you feel about this list though?
I love it. I love the conversation. Okay. So let me look. Give me a list again.
Yeah.
What are the factors that went into this?
So,
did you consider how many times the top 3 people were sued by their artists for missing money?
Shots fired. Shots fired.
No, but
put a bullet on the name.
Because
put a name on the bullet.
Shots fired. The top 3 people.
Put a name on that bullet. Please.
Shots fired. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm curious to how long it is because I think Ice Cube is somebody.
Exact?
As an exec. Cube Vision.
Are you basing this solely on what they've done in hip hop?
And
No
music,
movies, no outside.
Exactly.
Music.
Just
Music.
Just music.
Music.
Okay.
Because if it was bigger than music, Jay-Z would be number 1.
And like Will Smith and people like that.
Just as music.
So the reason why Baby was number 1 is that, of course, Jay-Z has become more successful as far as his overall business. Mm-hmm. But as far as music, I don't think there's ever been a label that has been more successful than Cash Money. From the mid-'90s with the Hot Boys to now, Drake, Nicki Minaj, Wayne. I mean, Drake, Nicki Minaj, and Wayne alone.
Yeah.
It's unprecedented what their run has.
This is a conversation that we had, right? Mm-hmm. Take that trio and take Death Row's trio.
Right.
Who's the bigger trio?
and this is rhetorical question.
It's Cash Money.
Cash Money in terms of like sales.
Like
and,
like Pac, Snoop, and Dre at that time.
It's Cash Money.
And then
Drake, Drake's the biggest artist ever.
Drake, and Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, which trio?
What's the numbers though? What do the numbers say?
Well, the numbers say Cash Money.
Okay.
By singles.
But yeah,
albums. Pac had.
Some of that is kind of relative because it's almost like asking, like, Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, and Julius Erving versus Jordan and, like, Kobe and things like that.
For sure.
And it's
for sure.
Well, what about impact then?
See, you're talking to somebody.
Death Row was a short run, though.
That feels subjective.
But it was short run.
But Pac's
the impact. We debate Pac to this day.
Snoop's impact.
For sure.
Yes.
That was a short window.
But the impact has been long.
Lil Wayne's impact, there's no Young Thug without Lil Wayne. There's there's
a lot of guys.
But we also have to consider the presence of DSPs. So things change once we have MP3s and the accessibility to music. You know what I mean?
But like I said, but the reason why I think Baby, because like this was Yo Gotti's art. Yo Gotti, he wanted to know why he wasn't in the list.
Okay.
But then he outside of that, he was saying that he thought Master P should be higher, because he was saying that. He said a lot of these guys from like New York or LA, they have tools.
Factors.
They have resources.
He was like they didn't have no resources.
Out
like,
the mud.
Out literally out the trunk. And so he was like, he puts more appreciation on that because they started with less.
Right.
Yeah. That impact question is interesting for me.
Keep this in mind.
Right? Okay.
Like when we're talking about the greatest, right? Like you'll put and most people will put Wayne inside that top 10.
Absolutely. In the top 5.
They'll put Drake inside that top 10. Yeah. But Nicki's the greatest female of all time, right?
Yeah.
So, like...
I put her in my top 10.
You got 3 in the top 10.
Yeah.
You're not putting Dr. Dre in your top 10.
I see what you did there.
As what?
As, like, an artist.
No, producer, though. Producer.
Top 10. No, he's top...
But why not?
But we're talking about trio.
Dre, well, see, then you got his artistry. How do you define what is an artist? You mean as a rapper?
But I look at...
Because his impact,
his impact is great.
But
NWA.
But Death Row don't have a greater impact than Rockefeller. Because if you look at Rockefeller, that's Jay-Z and that's Kanye West. So now you got 2 of the top 3.
Beanie Siegel, State Property.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Memphis Bleak.
Dipset. But I'm talking about you got 2 of the top 3 ever.
On impact.
Again, this is all opinion though.
But then if you're gonna count Young Thug being influenced by Wayne, then you got to bring Eminem in the Dr. Dre scenario.
And 50 Cent.
And 50 Cent.
That's why Dre's up there. Dre's number 4.
Right.
No,
we talking about Death Row. We jump,
just the trios.
But then that Bad Boy, at some point you got to
have a trio though.
You got to have
whose
Bad
trios?
Boy.
Bad Boy is Mace, or is it
Bad
Big?
Boy, I look at Bad Boy as you got to have Uptown Records as well. Like this is his career as an executive. As an executive, Mary J. Blige.
Uptown, he wasn't exec.
Mary J. Blige.
As an exec.
Jodeci.
Okay.
You got Jodeci.
Father MC.
You got Biggie. You got the Locks. You got
Craig Mack first and Big. This is
yeah, but then Rashad, you gotta consider like the point Tracy. What I look at when we have these conversations.
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't look at what's on paper, right? As much as I remember those things that Tracy's talking about. The feeling. And the intangibles is the fact that it was easier for an East Coast exec to be successful than there was for one in the South.
But you from the era, when that Bad Boy logo was strong.
Yeah.
That when that Bad Boy logo was strong, it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
The Bad Boy street team was stupendous.
What year?
Yeah,
94 to 90.
Death Row was strong.
No, 99 they put
99 was for Alba album. It's a little different.
You're good, Troy.
Oh, these dudes, they studied. I watched them.
Yeah, 97 is No Way Out.
Okay.
There's No Way Out. That No Way Out.
Where y'all from?
We from here, New York.
That's what it is. Okay, never mind. We can't even have this conversation. You're not getting nowhere with these guys.
Who's your top? I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who's your top 5? Because as a real hot take, you know what somebody said to us? They was like, who the number 1 hip hop CEO of all time is?
Who?
Jimmy Iovine. Ooh. They like Jimmy Iovine. They like he had Death Row, he had Aftermath. And we don't look at him as a hip hop CEO.
Right.
But they're like, if you really want to be technical about it, he's the one that's running everything.
But that's like Andre
hurts
Harrell
me.
bringing Diddy in a smaller sense.
Yeah.
But it's like if you want to really start factoring in who was there or who.
The only difference is that Puff was on Arista and it wasn't on Uptown, right? Bad Boy was on Arista. Jimmy Iovine is creating the umbrella that these things live under, and Puff created an umbrella under Arista, which wasn't Andre's joint. Rest in peace, Andre.
Yeah, absolutely. Jimmy Iovine, I think, had there was a guy named Keith Nafley that hired us to radio at KML in San Francisco. We first started doing syndication, and he didn't know hip hop at all, but it was really before Hot 97, it was KML was the first mainstream station to start putting to put hip hop in every day part rotation. Keith didn't know it at all. He got all the credit for it. He got in all the, the trade magazines. But he'll tell you.
See where you're going.
What he was great at was delegating and identifying the people who do know.
Yes.
I think Jimmy was great at
delegating and
identifying the people who do know. I do think because he comes from an engineering background, he has a musical ear. That's a little different to me than Master P,
who got it out the mud.
I
agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That was just a hot take that somebody in the music business. But I'm interested to know your top 5 because you've been around for a long time. Your top 5 hip hop CEOs.
Uh-oh. Let me see your list.
Start me off with something.
Help me out.
Oh man,
guide me through this.
Man, I love Baby.
Are you putting them in order, Sway?
No,
okay.
I haven't thought about this.
No, when you were reading the list, you didn't see Tracy's eyes as you were saying the top 3. So I really want to know.
I think Jay-Z. You got to say Jay-Z, Diddy, and I would add 50 Cent, Baby,
and Master P.
And Master P. That's 6. That's 6.
So you're not a fan of Diddy?
No, of course I am a fan of Diddy. I think on the list, just unfortunately, when I think of Puff as a business executive, outside of all the incredible contributions he's brought up, I think of the outstanding controversies that come along with it as well. You know what I mean? So there's just an asterisk next to his name a bit.
What about Baby?
It's similar, you know, especially being obsessed with Wayne. You know what I mean? And seeing literally the heartbreak that he went through.
Tracy's a Cash Money historian over here, so.
I guess
that's my guy.
Yeah, but when you mentioned 50 and considering, because when we were talking about trust, I'm like, a lot of folks probably learned about trust for the first time watching Power. And the relationship between Ghost and Tariq. Because that's a very big part of the storyline. And I'm like, dang, like 50 really took over the entertainment industry in a whole different way with television. You know what I'm saying? So
he's in my top.
Yeah, how diverse of a talent executive are you? A business executive too.
So what I also consider too is those circumstances, because there's people like Jay Prince.
He was
okay,
the guy who talked about that.
Yeah, Rap A Lot Records, and what he was able to do at the time that he was able to do it.
He's had the blueprint.
Right, whole significance. Eazy-E, Ruthless Records. So I'm there at that time when we didn't have all the resources, especially on the West Coast and in the South. So I have to give credit to that. How their navigation was different from Puff's, and it was different from Dre's at that time. You know, and so to me, it got to be some credence in that. It can't just be the final results because whoever got the biggest metrics and the biggest numbers doesn't necessarily mean you were the best business person, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Grand Hustle was mentioned as well. Shout out to Grand Hustle.
T.I.?
Ah.
Okay.
Grand Hustle.
But then there was Sylvia Rome. Give her a round of applause.
Yeah,
I think she was incredible. Queen Latifah. I think she's incredible. You know, I'm trying to think of CEOs' names. I've been around a lot, but let's hang out. All right,
Will do.
I know y'all hip hop heads, so let me go sharpen my shit up a little bit, see what I can remember, and then we can definitely have a conversation, man. Love you, brothers. Thank you for joining us this morning, man. Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it.
Earn your leisure, man. Hey, go to Invest Fest.
Yeah.
Pull up. You coming? You coming?
I just might. The 25th, August 25th, 27th, August 25th, 27th. If my weekend is free, I'm there.
Perfect.
That's my word.
Atlanta.
How much
there?
is
I'm gonna see.
Do y'all talk about the admission? How much is this? How much I got to pay to get in?
You? Come on, bro.
It's easy.
That's free.
$3.99. I'm gonna call you, dog. All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Guys, follow Earn Your Leisure online everywhere. These guys are all over the digital space. Invest Fest happening August 25th and 27th through the 27th in Atlanta, Georgia.